where are you from actually?
Well, first and foremost, let me start out by saying a big hello and a big shout out to
Okay.
all the listeners of Skunk House Radio and also to Al and his entire crew to let them know that I'm absolutely pleased to be here this evening with you all. As it pertains to my own roots, I was born in Panama,
Panama. Good.
and it's amazing this journey
Okay.
because my folks are all from the Caribbean,
Okay.
and so I say that to say that my grandparents by my father's side are from Jamaica, and my grandparents, my mother's side, of Barbados and St. Lucia. So so I sit here a proud West
Caribbean.
Indian Panamanian.
Okay. So there you go, folks. So you're from Panama. Your music, where did it start? Did you start out at a young age in Panama, and what was your influence?
It's interesting because
Who
I think
was your influence? Growing up in Panama before you migrated to the U.S.
it's interesting because I think growing up in Panama, we were, as young folks, you're considered almost polyphacetic, and that's just to say that we listen to all kinds of music,
Yeah.
and I grew up in Panama, so obviously I speak Spanish also, and so we listen to both Spanish and English music. So, and I'm talking about, on the Spanish side, salsa and cumbia, and
Yeah.
and on the English side, however, we listen to just about everything. I'm talking about calypso, and I'm talking
Yeah.
about R&B, and we're talking about reggae and soca, and all the genres that you can
Yeah.
in fact imagine. We are sort of a crossroad in a place that allow us to be influenced by all that music. So growing up, I can tell you that my first influences were actually two, and that's mostly R&B music, and we're talking about R&B from the times of Motown.
Okay.
So we go back,
Way back.
we go back a minute.
Yeah,
and,
definitely.
and also when we talk about calypso also that was played way back when we were kids, and so that was another major influence. I had a group that I sang with, that I would like to mention, a group that particularly
Definitely.
was my early influence. The group that was called the Galaxies.
Okay.
And what the Galaxies did was, we were mostly, we started out first as an a cappella group, and once we had our harmony, well down, we had a chance to then sing with a number of different bands,
Okay.
and so we had, some of the bands at the time in Panama. Like there was a band called the Exciters that, in fact, did a whole lot of American music, all the R&B stuff. And so we had a chance to sing with the Exciters as the group that was backing us up, the band that backs us up, and we did a lot of a cappella.
Okay.
We did a lot of R&B stuff at that time.
Okay.
I think growing up in Panama, like most West Indian families, you go home and you're 15, 16 years old, and you tell your parents that you're going to do music for as a way to earn your living,
Yeah.
and they want to know if you done lost your mind,
Exactly.
because there's no way you're going to be able to take care of a family by doing this sort of stuff, and so that a lot of what we did back then was in fact done for fun, and so there was no
Okay.
actual
Wasn't-
recording that I did. Now
Okay.
what my parents encouraged me to do and was you need to get an education, and
Yeah.
you need to get a trade, and you gotta
Basic.
you got a profession, and so
Yeah.
at 14 years old I was a barber, and
Okay.
so that's when I started earning my first pennies,
Okay.
and I was actually pretty good at the at my performance in school, and the science was also an area that I was not only good at but also passionate about,
Okay.
and so that my life took off with science as a major
Okay.
area of concentration, and so I went both to
Okay.
high school and completed studies in science, and when I went on to college, that was in fact the thing that drove most of my professional career.
Okay. So basically, you're more interested in science. Uh, you're more in depth in science than the music was just like a hobby to you.
Yes, at the time.
So you, at what age did you decided? Well, actually, did you finish school in Panama or did you travel to the States?
I completed my high school in Panama.
Okay.
I started college there,
Okay.
but then I came to the United States shortly after my after my first year of college.
Okay.
By this time, my dad had passed on already, and so
Okay.
I had family members that were here, siblings that were here, and they insisted that I needed to come here and
Okay.
pursue the rest of my study. So I went to Connecticut initially, where I completed my undergraduate degree in biology and chemistry,
Okay.
and then I left Connecticut to come to New York, where I did a master's in microbiology, and I ended up going to medical school after at downstate, and completed my doctorate in medicine. So
Okay.
so science
Science
was really,
contributes
was
contribute to
really
all
a
of that.
significant portion.
Okay.
Well, I can tell you that I have folks back home that were, you know, were serious about the fact that you had to pursue an education. I don't
Yeah.
come from educated folks at all.
Okay.
In fact, my dad was someone that never completed high school, and my mom did complete high school, but they understood at the time that education was a way, to get us out of whatever situation you were in, and
Definitely.
at least offer you a chance to open different doors.
Okay.
It was one of the things that I also was glad for in terms of my upbringing in Panama was not only the support that I got early from them, but I think I grew up in a neighborhood where people understood also what it meant that village took care of the folks in the village.
Definitely.
And I say that to say that I come from humble beginnings of a family of a neighborhood of black folks that understood that how we took care of each other.
Okay.
And so, part of my early journey also involved the struggle for ensuring that people of color and people of that came from my neighborhood were not only represented well in our communities, but also we took on the fights for the things that in fact make the national medium understand that we were here and that we were going to take our rightful place
Yeah, definitely.
that nature in that nation and all that it was about.
Exactly. So you face the challenges basically where most of us face in the Caribbean, especially living amongst other ethnicities, and the racial tension
Absolutely.
and the marginalizing of black people in general.
Absolutely.
So you basically experience that in Panama as well. I mean,
Absolutely.
a lot of people don't understand that, this is not just for Jamaicans or, it's for the whole entire Caribbean people. Where black people, reside, we all go through this plight. So, when you escape that, you can talk about this, your story, or give your story about where you're coming from and how you got to where you are today. You know what I mean? It's a good thing for especially younger, kids to understand. You didn't just get it because it was handed to you.
Absolutely.
You had to work hard to get it. So you're in science now. At the age that you decided, you accomplished your high school diploma back in Panama,
Yeah.
and you begin college there. You were working at that time.
Actually, I did. As I said, I started out. I was about 14 years old. I used to. I was a hairstylist. I was a barber.
Okay.
And so
Yeah.
there's no such thing as hairstylist back
Hairstylist, it's
then.
a
We were
barber.
barbers. That's who we were.
Definitely.
You cut hair, and you got
That's it,
you
you
got
get
paid.
paid,
You
yeah.
got paid your pennies, and
Yeah.
you made enough money that you could
Yeah.
take care of your business during the week. You had your lunch money, and
Yeah.
you do whatever little things that you had to do back then, and so I did that. I also had I subsequently started also doing some drawing and painting, and we used to do like advertisement for shows and stuff like that.
Okay.
I paint paint
Okay.
the placards and stuff like that for that. So that was another way to earn some money back then
Okay.
while going to school.
Oh.
My sister in particular was the one that insisted that, coming to Connecticut would in fact open avenues for me to pursue my education. And so
Okay.
so when I came here initially, I went to Connecticut, and so I attended Central Connecticut State University,
Okay.
and that's where I completed my undergraduate degree in biology with a concentration in chemistry. So
Okay.
I did that
So
there.
basically, when you traveling here, you had a focus.
I came specifically looking
To go to school to
to go to
finish.
school and complete my education. I always say, I was fortunate enough to have both, a love and a passion, and I think, and the lesson to everyone is that, don't give up on any of your dreams.
Exactly.
If you really feel passionate about anything at all,
Yeah.
by all
Good
means,
one.
you should just go ahead and pursue it.
Definitely.
And again, not only don't give up your dreams, don't live through the limitations of anyone. So when people tell you what you can or can't do, you need to just
Yeah.
take strength from what they're saying and just
Definitely.
get yourself focused again and do what you have to do.
So we got a call. Let's take this call. Hello, caller. You're live.
Hi.
Yes. How
Calling
are
for
you?
Doc Ray?
Yes, Doctor is here. You can go ahead. Ask him anything you want to.
Hi, this is Erica.
Hey, how you doing, sweetheart?
I am calling to thank you for the work that you are doing, and thank you for bringing our ancestors and our family and teaching the world about the Panama Canal and our true.
All these accolades, which is which is good. I mean, what are your hopes? Seeing that you accomplish all this. I know we're gonna get to the music, but I'm trying to unlock some things here where so that
It's
the
all good.
viewers out there can have a fuller understanding, as I said before.
It's all good.
Seeing that you accomplish, all that you did. What are your hopes for, like younger. I'm talking about black kids. Let me be more specific. Growing up, what are your dream, are for these young kids coming up, and what they can accomplish? I mean, what would you contribute to them? How could you, motivate them
Well, it's,
to follow that path that you took, in learning and accomplishing so much things?
there are the basic cliches that one hear all the time, right? Follow your dreams, and
Yeah.
don't let anyone tell you that you can't do. If you really feel strongly about things, you should pursue it. I have to say that I sit here as a possibility.
Definitely.
Okay, and so because I come from the same places that a lot of the kids that are growing up in our neighborhoods come from.
Yeah.
I even when I came to New York, I lived initially in the projects out on Lafayette between Classic and Frankie, to be in the settings where what you look around and you look for role models and all
Yeah,
of those
definitely.
that they're not there. But the point is that I just want to leave this with folks. You can do anything you want to do if in fact you just adhere to because I think that our kids are just as smart as any
Definitely.
of the folks out there. I don't think and we can talk about all the other social issues that gets in the way sometimes
Definitely.
of them striving, but it's not an issue of capacity. And so that, for instance, I spent the better part of 16 years on the admissions committee of the medical school.
Yeah.
And my role on that admissions committee was to ensure that black students were going to get into medical school.
Definitely.
And so I'm proud of that journey because I got a whole bunch of kids in medical school that are now practicing physicians all over this country. And things like that, I'm excited. I had an organization called Doctors Against Murder when I was practicing medicine at Kings County. And Doctors Against Murder was an organization that afforded me a chance to go all over the city and speak about issues of violence and speak about how the genocide that I saw in our communities, also all the impact that it was having on our kids being able to do the things that they are capable of doing, and talk about prevention and talk about having different directions. I've spoken nationally on this issue in places like San Francisco and New Orleans and Washington and all over New York City, and teamed up with a number of folks here in New York City, including New Yorkers Against Gun Violence and a number of other folks. In fact, there's an organization that exists today, and I just want to put this out there so that folks can support this organization. There's an organization called Kings Against Violence Initiative, and it's an organization that's run by a young man that was someone that I mentored, and he now his name is Robert Gore, Dr. Robert Gore, and he runs Kings Against Violence Initiative that also is spending time in our communities, looking at young people and in fact assisting them in a whole host of ways to achieve their dreams. Mm-hmm. And so it's not about just doing medicine. It's about doing just about anything that you want to do if in fact you're willing to invest the time and the effort. I was speaking at an elementary school once, and one of the kids in the class says, "So Doc, what is the subject the favorite subject that you have to learn if you want to be a doctor?" And what I told him was, it's not about a subject. I said, what you need to learn is language. And so what I tell the young people out there today is that if you can learn 2 new words a day, you start out as a kid, you learn 2 new words a day. By the time you get to your 20th birthday, you'll be speaking better than Obama spoke.
Exactly. and you're right about that. I know what the narrative is. A lot of time people will, a lot of, huge figures will say, you know what, follow your dreams, don't let nobody stop you. These are things we hear over and over again. A lot of kids they're not motivated enough to even listen to that anymore. So what would be the new approach to take, in inspiring these young kids to actually go out and accomplish their dreams? Because to all the society is.
What I say to folks is that it doesn't matter what your talents or your titles are.
Yeah. Okay?
We need to be in the business of giving it all back. So whatever it is that you bring to the table, you need to give it all back, because you can't take it with you.
Exactly.
Okay? And so that if we are serious about trying to help our kids, we need to be serious about understanding that we need to be on the table. So I don't care what your title is. Everyone that comes with something.
Exactly.
And if you are willing to put that something on the table, if you're willing to share that you come with, and it will be received, and you'll be surprised where the impact lies. Because there's a kid sitting in the back of the classroom that nobody thinks is able to do things, and that's probably the smartest kid in the class.
Exactly.
Because he's completely turned off by what he's hearing from the folks up there. He doesn't see himself and the people that are trying to teach him. He doesn't identify with what he sees in his surrounding. And what happened is that kid is turned off.
Definitely.
Not turned off because he lacks capacity. Turned off because the environment that surrounds him doesn't stimulate him that he can pursue the things that he needs to pursue. So I say to all our folks, bring what you got, bring it to the table, and let's put it out there, let's share it, and you're going to be surprised of the lives that you're going to not only impact, but what those lives are going to do as they move on.
Definitely. Yeah, and it's good you say that, bring what you have to the table. Not many people that I've interviewed or talked with, have this idea or would ever bring anything to the table. A lot of people, they're wealthy enough to can contribute, make some kind of changes, but they choose not to. You know, some people took their money from the bank, put it in their mattress, and sleep on it every night because because they don't want to they don't want to.
Let me tell you the sad reality. You can't take it.
You can't take it with you, but they believe that they could.
Sad reality. You can't take
You know,
it with
but
you.
they do believe that they could take it. And then,
See
you
no
know,
break from falling, no hurts.
they don't even want the bank to take the interest from that their money. They took it out
Can't take it with you.
and they put it. You know, they put
That'll
it.
be about giving it all back. 'Cause
Exactly.
You can't take it.
And that's what I said. It's a good thing, and I respect you for saying that. You know, bring in what you have to the table. I mean, that's what you have to do. You know, living your life at the same time, but helping others to achieve what you achieve. You know what I mean? And there's a lot of fighting amongst black, as they say, the crab in the barrel situation. You know, no one wants to help the other one to get up. You know, because as soon as a black person makes some money, they, instead of helping, they start to show off on their own people, and using that, and then you want to crave for what they have, and it create a lot of crime at that too, because like you bring cheese in a rat nest, you bring cheese inside of a rat nest. I mean, what you expect gonna happen?
I just say that what I say is that we need to make sure that our focus is on none of the things that hinder or the things that in fact set us back.
Definitely.
You know, the focus needs to be on the things that allow us to move forward. And so moving forward is what this is about. And I'm telling you that I had a young man, and I just make this one case. This young man lived right out here in East New York.
Yeah.
And I remember I took care of his grandmother.
Okay.
Came into the hospital and I took care of her. And that young man was someone that sat and just watched everything that I was doing. And after that evening, he told his parents, he told his mom, I want to be like that man.
Yeah.
I didn't even know about this until subsequently when this kid was one of the kids sitting in the back of the classroom that no one thought was smart enough.
Yeah.
That suddenly became focused. Went on to go to college. In fact, went to medical school right at downstate, graduated, went back and studied emergency medicine like I did. He did critical care medicine. This a young black man.
Yeah.
Young black man. And today he's now one of the most qualified black physicians in internal medicine with triple training and triple boards.
Okay.
So right here from East New York,
Yeah.
right here on the block,
What,
where nobody thought that he was bright enough to do it. I saw, and I learned about this because the New York Times gave this kid a whole page to tell his story.
Oh,
And in the story, I see my name.
Yeah.
People call me and says, Ray, I see your name, all over the newspaper about this young man. And he spoke about that encounter
with you?
when he was a kid, see me taking care of his grandmother. So we don't know. We don't know, and we can't sit back here and worry about the people that are trying to hold us back. You know what? We just gotta leave that alone and just, keep our eyes forward. Keep moving forward.
You know, what would you say create this type of distraction? Would you say, because I know it's a lot of broken family here,
Mhm.
I mean, would you say young kids within the poor neighborhoods, they have no father figure or someone, to motivate them in following any type of dream?
It's
So
complex.
that makes them lackadaisical. Huh?
Well, it's complex, and so I don't want to just say that it's solely about. Clearly, the absence of fathers is an issue, but we also have a system that is incarcerating
Exactly.
more black men
Yeah.
in this country than
Anywhere
than
else.
anyone else for crimes that in fact makes no damn sense.
Yeah.
And also when you stop and think about it, they get more time for the same crime that white counterparts are actually committed, and you get a slap on the wrist.
Yeah.
So we have also some systemic issues here
Exactly.
that that has nothing to do with just
The broken families.
families.
Yeah.
We have a system also that in fact that in fact stands many times in a way. And I'm talking about a system where education is an issue,
Yeah.
a system where law enforcement is a problem. You know, look, let me tell you something, man.
We are
look,
targeted,
lady,
basically.
lady justice, you know, when it comes to a lot of folks in our communities, you know, it's not blind. It's not blind.
Yeah.
And so I say this to say that, you know, that there are systemic issues, and so that I don't want us to just focus on the negatives and assume that all of it
Yeah.
is in fact not intentional. There is some
It is,
things
yeah,
here.
yeah.
There's some stuff out here that is intentional. There are schools that in fact are performing at levels that, you know, that are aimed at failing.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
we don't, and
Definitely.
we allow those schools to continue to survive. There is, you know, there's the family issues, there's the social issues, there's a lot. So if you're a 10-year-old, 11-year-old, 12-year-old growing up on these streets, you know, your reality may be very, very different. And sometimes what it's going to require, that's why I said before, that it requires all of us.
Exactly.
It requires all of us understanding that we have not only a role but a responsibility in this matter. And so that's why I say, like I said before, bring all that you got to the table, man, and let's do what we need to do to take care of our kids and our families, because if we do, okay, then we don't have to, in fact, sit back and see them subjected to the madness that gets them locked up when they're 17
Exactly,
and
yeah.
18 years old
And even murdered as well.
and killed.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you make a good point. You know, it's difficult. As you say, it's intentional. We know that a lot of it is intentional, and a lot of institutions are set up against our people, preventing us from, you know, excelling in life. We know that. A lot of us know it, but there's nothing has been done about this. I mean, how can we change this? Because living in a system where everything is against you, you know, how do we change this collectively? Because I know without unity, there will be no hope, because everybody stand alone. Every individual doing their own thing. Everybody, you got your life going, you have your family, so you're happy. You don't care about the other person. And you know, I can recall when it was back in Tulsa, Oklahoma, when the Black Wall Street was
Absolutely.
going on. I think at that time, black people were more unified because of the slavery at that time, right? It was.
Oh, but the Tulsa, Oklahoma experience
Yeah,
was the experience of how the system that saw black folks actually
progressing. Yeah.
and actually doing well,
Yeah,
decided
didn't
that
want to see it.
we need to stop this.
Exactly.
I mean, they burned down Tulsa, Oklahoma, with all the businesses and all
Exactly,
the
yeah.
churches and all the things that, you know, that made that community
Yeah.
the most successful community
In
at
America.
the time.
Yeah, in this country.
Black folks.
Yeah.
And so that's what I mean about there are systemic stuff.
And we take your experience, your life journey, basically. And we're looking for your book that coming out in 2019. No, I'm kidding. But we are waiting for the book. I'm sure there's a book in the making.
Oh, we need not.
We
We need not kid. It needs to happen.
it need to happen, right? You know, and because, you know, story like yours are rare, and it could happen to any one of us. We are all capable of this, you know, this story, you know, that your story, basically. But a lot of us we didn't get the push, either from our family or because the way the system is designed, you know, it hindered us from even making it to, you know, our dreams. We had dreams.
Mhm.
We all have it when we were kids.
Absolutely.
For them to say that, you know, we have a low IQ and we don't have this and we don't have that, it's, you know, they have the audacity to say things like that when every young mind has a vision, has a dream. If it's not nurtured and directed in the right way, you know, it's basically going to be diminished. But you know, we're talking about your legacy, man, your history, which you know, everybody listening, we didn't get into everything detailed. You know, actually, you have to wait for the book and the DVD, right? But and it's gonna be in the making. I'm sure of it. You know, it's a history that should not be covered up. You know what I mean? It should reveal that people out there can get and maybe there's a lot of people that can be inspired. Your music is very positive as well. We're going to talk about that just now. It is very, very positive, and the way that you articulate your lyrics, you're dealing with topics. You're not dealing with the broke out thing and the jump up thing and this lavish type of fictional thing. You're dealing with roots, culture, and that's what we need. With music today, most of the music is so generic. It's not it have no potency in it. Listening to your music just now. I'm just hearing your music, but I'm a listener, so and I hope everybody got the idea of what you're saying, and I'm sure we're gonna discuss where they could get you your music to download, and you have a performance coming up here. I see. Exclusive CD release party. That's June 27th.
That's this Wednesday.
This Wednesday.
Absolutely.
That's going to be at the Enriquez Lounge. That's 138-89 Francis Lewis Boulevard. That's Rosedale, Queens. So you guys can check that out. The information, the number to call for more information and tickets. If you want to go there and support Doc Ray and watch him perform live. Tonight we might not give you a live performance because you're getting too much already. You understand? But we might. But anyway, the number to call for the information is 347-633-0938. So call that number, get some information, and you can go out there and support Doc Ray. That's June 27th. Okay, that's this month, this Wednesday. This Wednesday. So don't make it a date and don't delay it. It's at Enriquez Lounge. 138-89 Francis Lewis Boulevard. So you guys can go out there this Wednesday, bring your friend and bring your grandparent, bring everybody, because it's gonna be a good event. And go out and enjoy and support. The I don't know if I should call you artists or I should call you entrepreneur. I'm trying to find a word. Maybe I'll find it by the end of this, just to put you in this one thing, this one bubble and say, okay, that's who you are. But yeah, we go for Doc Ray for now, and that's it. So but let's get into. We were talking about racial institutions in America here, and not only America. A lot of us don't realize that back in the Caribbean islands as well, it's still under colonial rulership, and we're not a free people. We say independent, but what is independent really? So it's designed. These people crafted. They sit down and they design this thing to keep us where we are. And you can look at the Caribbean island. The reason why we're here in this country, actually the reason why I'm here and many others like me are here, is for a better life. So even go back, they're contradicting themselves when they said we have low IQ and we don't want to work and we don't want to contribute. But so why are we leaving, our present situation to come to America for a better opportunity? Because there's no opportunity back in our, I don't know, Panama is maybe different. I know there's racial, discrepancy everywhere. In Jamaica, the same thing exists everywhere because it's under colonial rule and we're not allowed to develop the country. These governments are head of government that were put in place by European powers. They're not allowed to develop these islands, to build infrastructure and anything like that. It's just to keep the country just the same way. I left Jamaica back in the 80s, and Jamaica never built a hospital since I lived there. They never built one hospital. The same old hospital there from maybe colonial days, it's the same one there. So you have to ask yourself, why aren't these things changing? They don't build schools. The only people who build school and build Jamaica as a country is foreigners who go back with their money and invest, build houses, probably open some business. That's the changes you will see. The road system and that, China kind of take that contract and build it. And the hotels and all of these stuff are foreigners. So, as I said, the narrative that they're pushing and the lies that they've told, they don't care whether it's China and another European country going to the country and build something. It will reflect them and prove to their children that, okay, see, black people didn't do nothing. See, go to Jamaica, go to Sandals and these resorts and sees white people building. Leave Flanders, where white people don't live, and go into deeper, the deeper country in Jamaica, you're gonna see that this is what black people do. They don't do nothing. They destroy and everything. But we don't understand the politics behind everything. So I mean, what is your take on that?
It seems like the colonial print has been well made, and I think that the notion of what colonialism has done to all our nations.
Yeah.
We still see the effects of that even to this day. The notion of going into all kinds of countries all over this planet and taking their resources,
Yeah.
just literally taking their resources, and in fact, not only taking the resources, but then turn around and sell them back, products that are made from their own resources, and leave a lot of these nations indebted in ways that their economies are always under the umbrella of the colonial nation. It's sad. I look at, it's historically, this is something that I don't think that we have been able to overcome in its entirety. I look at, for instance, look at what happened with Haiti and France, and what has happened with a number of the islands that they were under British rule, and the same thing has happened with the United States and a host of nations were that were looking to this nation for fairness and economic justice, and none of those things in fact are part of a system were for many.
Yes, definitely.
For many, greed is at the center of all of
All
that's
the
done.
everything that
And so that we have to to this discussion will in fact take up
I know
not only this hour, but it will take up several more hours if we start talking about the economic injustice and the social injustice, the lack of a social contract.
Exactly.
With people, so that in fact they are able to develop their own lands and develop the goods that they need to not only survive, but the goods that they need to thrive and do well, and not have them always subjected to someone else's intervention, or that intervention in fact controls.
Exactly, and I said it's this lie that they're pushing, that they have to protect, so in order to protect this lie, they have to do what they're doing. They won't allow a black nation to rise. If you can see, not even Africa, it stands on their own right now because they're under colonial rule still. They pick the worst people from our people to put in these positions. These people who they paid, and tell them, listen, you rule here, don't worry about them. Your family, everything is secure, you get everything. And these greedy men, they take the money, whatever money comes in, for themselves, and just give a little to the population of people around. So there's not one black nation right now, or country, that any of us could say, you know what, let's go to Africa. Like a lot of people would say, let's go to America and see better life. We can't go among our own people, because there's nothing there still. So we're still a dependent, and being a dependent, it only pan out to being a slave again. So it's a very difficult thing, and I believe the only way out of this, is to distance ourselves from these people and unify our people and pull ourselves far away from them. I don't think we will rise if we continue to be under them or next to them. And I'm not saying that all of them had, this bad idea of us, maybe, but
it's an interesting.
what I mean. But
it's an interesting discourse. I still think that what's reality and what's pragmatic is in fact how one begin to take back your own 1 square meter at a time.
Exactly.
And that's going to take some time. But also I think the importance of knowing your history,
That's
the
important.
importance of
Yeah.
of seeing how in fact the lack of us being informed, how that has impacted not only our people but impacted the younger folks that are
Yeah,
coming
yeah.
in, and how it continues to be
Exactly.
to be uh, to be uh, to be to be a problem. It continues to be an issue.
Exactly.
We need to know our history.
And that it goes back again. The only way we're going to know our true history is if it's been taught by us to our kids. You see, these educational system is designed to teach you this false, you know, history or doctrine about where black people came from
The song
and
says
who we are, right?
the song says,
Yeah,
and it's coming from an old African proverb. It says, "Lions can't be kings if only hunters are doing the talking."
exactly.
So that history is written by the person with
Who
the pen.
conquered? Exactly.
History is written by the person with the pen, and as
Exactly.
long as we allow other folks to have the pen and do the writing,
They won't
it's
say
going to
anything.
have their twist. It's going to have their bias. It's not going to represent you the way you want to be represented.
Yeah, you're right. There's so many lies that's plain now. It's so plain because they said the wheel was created by some European guy, but then you have a history that predates European history. And you're talking about let's go to biblical history now. They say Pharaoh had chariots with wheels. So where did that wheel come from, right? In Egypt, that predates European civilization. And you're talking about they said they're the first one who domesticated the horse. But then, what type of horse was Pharaoh using? Were they wild horses or domesticated horses? You understand what I'm saying? So it's been a lie, man. But as you said, it will be so much to talk about, and in just a hour or half an hour, it will be a really extensive amount of time to really discuss some of these topics. But as we said, we discuss these things. Let's get into your music now. You have all these accolades now. Uh, at what point after you accomplished everything that you wanted to, because you pushed yourself to finish to get your degree, your master's, your bachelor, at what point, and what age did you? No, let's not talk about the age, but let's talk about at what point what year did you realize?
The notion of doing music now
Yeah.
and really telling stories, using music as a tool
Yeah,
to actually talk about social issues.
yeah.
This is something that I just began recently,
Okay.
and so for instance, the song, one of the songs that I and my music, I write my own stuff, and so
Yeah.
and in fact, the ones that you've heard tonight are songs that I not only wrote but I'm also singing, and I've
Okay.
had excellent collaboration by local musicians that have helped me
Yeah.
put it all together, and so I
Okay.
want to reach out to them and say
Definitely.
a big bless up to all of them, and
Sure.
thank them for their for what they've done to help this project move forward. But contributions, I'll start with contributions because that song specifically speaks about the Diggers. And who are the Diggers?
Yeah.
The Diggers were all the Caribbean folks that were in fact recruited to go to Panama to build a canal.
Exactly. Yeah.
If you know a little bit about the history, and I'll just touch on this a little bit.
Yeah.
The notion of having a waterway that joined both the Pacific and Atlantic Avenue has been something that's been discussed since the early 1500s, because in order to move all the treasures
Yeah.
that they were
The
taken out of
stove.
east from the west to move it to east and then move it subsequently to Europe, it was a problem having to go through
Yeah.
the treacherous
Terrain.
terrain that folks encountered. So this was being discussed since the early 1500s. Now, real work begins in earnest in the late 1800s, and this is after Ferdinand Lesseps built the Suez Canal.
Yeah.
So Ferdinand Lesseps built the Suez Canal and it's inaugurated in 1869. By the early 1880s, he's in Panama doing all the surveys to talk about building a canal that goes from Atlantic to Pacific, that actually connects Atlantic and Pacific, knowing that Panama was the narrowest area along the entire Americas where this could be done.
Yeah.
The thing that happens, however, is that they woefully underestimate the technical difficulties, the geographical challenges, and in fact also they underestimate the ravages that they encountered with things like yellow fever and typhoid fever and malaria and all of that. So the French people spent 20 years in Panama trying to build this canal, and 20 years later they have to file bankruptcy. 22,000 lives, 1.5 billion francs, and they had to file bankruptcy. Amongst those 22,000 lives, many of them were black folks, some from the Caribbean, some from New Orleans, but many of our folks. The Americans now buy the remains of whatever the French company has, and they start the project in 1904. And from 1904, they started out with 1,800 workers. They go to the Caribbean and aggressively recruit folks out of the Caribbean, a number that swells to as much as 60,000. And in 10 years, the canal is built in Panama with another cost in life that no one speaks about. It's another 6,000 or so lives that would die, that were given during the American project. Not to speak of also all the people that end up with morbidity associated with the project. That is, they lost their arms, or they lost their legs, or they lost, they just could not in fact continue to exist and be as productive as they were when they actually went there initially. The thing that one of the things that concerns me when I go back to Panama is that I see monuments that memorializes the folks that reportedly participated. So there is monuments that memorialize the French folks, including Ferdinand Lesseps, who was a French engineer. I see things that memorializes the Americans' participation, and they even had in the past something to memorialize Theodore Roosevelt, who was the president of the United States at the time. What I don't see, however, is something that memorializes black folks that actually built this project, on whose backs this project was built, who gave life, who gave blood, who gave sweat, to the tune of the numbers that I just mentioned. And I'm saying there is something wrong where a system doesn't understand that they deserve to be memorialized and recognized equally. So the song Contribution honors the diggers. The diggers are our grandparents. The folks that came from Jamaica, they came from Barbados, and they came from St. Lucia, Trinidad. They came from all over the Caribbean. It memorializes them. It's not an indictment on anyone else.
Definitely.
It's about honoring our people. And it's also trying to say to the folks down there is that there's going to be a need. You're going to have to, recognize that our folks deserve an equal seat at the table.
Exactly.
And so that you're part of the project that I'm on right now, part of the mission that I'm on, is to ensure that one, we're not written out of this history, but two, also that our folks are memorialized. In some way or fashion, we need to be memorialized just as all the other factions that participated. And so we're going to ensure that before, I just hope that, Vanderbilt looks down and, make sure that, these eyes are kept open and let's see if we can push this project forward. So that's what contribution is about. Contribution is about honoring our grandparents.
Definitely. From all throughout the Caribbean.
Like if I took time off for
To
what
do
I was-
the music.
To do music. Yes. I
Okay,
took
so
time off.
it's music now.
So I'm doing music right now.
Okay,
Right
so
now
that's
I'm
it.
doing music. I'm not.
Alright, so,
You know.
so all your doctor training is in the music
No,
now.
if folks have questions out there that they think I can be helped with, I'll be.
Well, maybe you need to do a song like that.
We can do that.
Maybe you need to do a song.
They
telling
call
them
me
what to
Dr.
do.
Ray and I'm here in town.
Yeah, you know.
Destitute of the unwelcome. Let us also not rest our laurels at the feet of the throne of rightful indignation without accepting the challenge inherent in the struggle for social justice. Our people, or this nation, will never achieve its greatest heights until we finally realize that in some measure, I am my brother's and my sister's keeper. And while this may be an inconvenient truth, it is one that must never be supplanted by capricious political expediencies that only regards the concerns of the few. Doc Ray, I'm out.
Though the road may be rough, I know I will find my way. Greetings, people. This is Ja Eyes, and right now I'm vibing up the place with Skunk House Radio, playing the best in reggae and everything you love. Yeah, make sure you keep it locked. Ja Eyes and Darcy.